I visited the 100 Famous Views of Edo painted by Hiroshige Ando, one of my favorite artists, to see how the scenes look today. The Dyers Quarters in Kanda of 075 depicts Mount Fuji seen through the fabric hanging from a clothesline in Konyacho, a dying town at that time. First, please note the location of this town. The town of dye artisans was located about 2.5 kilometers east-northeast of the Edo Castle keep at that time, about 200 meters east of the current JR Kanda Station. Please see a slightly larger map. The intersection of Showa Dori and Kanamono Dori still retains the intersection name of Konyacho. Hiroshige probably painted the view looking toward the south exit of Kanda Station from this area. I have used a red gradation to represent this viewpoint. This map is covered by an old map. This is the Azone River, where dyed fabrics were exposed to water to remove the dye before being made into products. Konyacho was a town of dyeing artisans ruled by Ukiyo-e Goroman, who was allowed by the shogunate to purchase indigo from the Kanto and Izu regions as a head dyer. The term Konyacho originally referred to craftsmen specializing in indigo dyeing, but by this time the term had come to refer to dyers as a whole. The name Edo purple, derived from the fact that it was dyed in Edo using murasakizo, a plant native to Musashino, became popular, and the hachimaki, dyed with indigo, became even more popular when Tsukuroku, a popular kabuki playwright, wrapped it around his head and performed it. The term out of place was even coined for items dyed outside of Kanda Konyacho, which had become popular for its chic and fashionable dyed goods. Konyacho is famous for the classic Rakugo story Koya Takeo, based on a true story. Kyuzo, a servant of Kichibuti, a dyer in Kanda Konyacho, is a serious man. He saves up money by not eating or drinking for 3 years and goes to Yeshiva under the pretense that he is the son of a famous shopkeeper in Kasukabe. When Takeo first asks him socially when they can meet again, Kyuzo cries and reveals his true identity honestly, showing his indigo-stained hands. Hearing this, Takeo also bursts into tears and says that he is glad that he has thought of him for 3 years, and that his contract will be terminated on March 15th of next year, so he asks her to be his wife then. There were actually 11 Takeo Teu, the traditional name of the Miurea family for generations, but the originator of this story was the 5th generation of the family, who was called Dazome Takeo. Kanda Atama married into Kuroba Ikonya of Atamagake and manufactured hand towels using a mass-production dyeing method called Dazome, which became very popular among the playboys of the time. All of the Takeo Teu except for the 5th generation lived miserable lives, but only the 5th generation Takeo is said to have given birth to 3 children. Let's actually take a closer look at Hiroshige's painting. The first thing that catches the eye is the indigo-dyed fabric hanging from the clothesline, which is set up on a high tower, and swaying in the wind. The indigo-dyed yukata fabric is dyed in indigo, as is typical of a Konyacho town, and has a design of the character fish for Ukiyo-e, the publisher, and Hiroshige's katakana character hero. Fuji at sunset in summer in the distance, with the mountains of Tanzania and Chichibu surrounding it in the foreground and background. In the foreground are the turrets and storehouses of Edo Castle surrounded by greenery and the streets of Edo. On the left side, fabric dyed with the then popular Daihachi wheel pattern and a traditional indigo checkered pattern flutters in the wind. The area below was confiscated by the shogunate as a fire prevention area because of frequent fires. However, as time progressed, buildings were permitted as long as they were made of reed screens that could be removed immediately in the event of a fire. In fact, Katsushika Hakusei had painted the same subject matter several years earlier in his Fugaku Hyakui, 100 Views of Mount Fuji. It is said that Kanda Konyacho may be a perfect example of Hiroshige's extraordinary rivalry with Hakusei's Fugaku series. I actually went to this location. Directly behind the shooting location is the intersection of Showa Dori Konyacho Cross. The road in front of us is Kanda Kanamono Dori, and the signal ahead is Imagawabashi Bridge. The guard ahead is the south exit of Kanda Station. Passing through the guard and turning left, you will come to Ryokanbashi Bridge, which ends at the outer moat of Edo Castle. The skyscrapers far ahead are the Atemachi Place, the Atemachi Building of NTT, and the Atemachi Financial City, where the Museum of Posts and Telecommunications has been reconstructed. I tried to fit the current view into Hiroshige's painting. Although it does not quite fit in terms of height and size, I tried to composite Mount Fuji in summer after the buildings of Atemachi. Today, not a single dyeing shop remains in the Kanda and Konyacho neighborhoods. Due to urbanization and the reclamation of the Azome River, the craftsmen of Konyacho moved to the banks of the Kanda and Myoshichi rivers. However, nowadays, with the promotion of chemical dyes and the diversification of dyeing methods, there is no longer even a need for a river to wash out the dyes as long as there is a water supply. Originally, indigo-dyed fabrics and clothing were used for their insect-repelling and deodorizing effects, and their slightly used colors were also valued. The scene of drying yukata fabrics fluttering with kawaii takeo seems to be disappearing more and more.